And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Go ahead and say it, Ed. Go Tigers!
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
You like that? You like that?
F it. Jamar's down there somewhere.
The New Orleans Saints select Marcus Davenport.
No!
Splash Brothers? Yeah.
It's playoff. Keep going, Brace.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Things that we're praying about this week are Norca Meredith, still undergoing treatment. No real updates for her, but just keep her family and her in your thoughts and prayers. And of course, Jonesboro, as they've had all these unfortunate tragedies over the last couple weeks. Just be in prayer for those families and their loved ones and as they're going through this grieving process. And just pray for Jonesboro in general as they come together as a community during this time. And then also Israel, that war going on over there. Nobody wants to see war, especially in such a biblical place like Israel. And just pray for the people that are caught in the middle of it, and be in prayer for the people that are doing it, because they need help as well. So Lord, just thank you for everything you've given us. Just please be with these prayer requests, Lord. Norca, she's undergoing treatment, her family, and just be with her and give her courage and strength and understanding and resiliency, Lord, and her family as well. And then and the doctors that are treating her also, Lord, and just be with Jonesboro as they're going through all this tragedy and recovery, and just be with the families, and be with everyone affected by it in general, and just be with the community and help them turn to you, Lord, as you try to help them heal in this process. And then also be with Israel and all the people that are being attacked, and the attackers, Lord, as we know that you can change their hearts with just one moment of conviction, Lord. And just please be with all these people, and just let us go and shine a light for you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. So jumping right on in this, our Starts at Sleeper Pod. If you're just now starting to listen, go back and listen to what our Starts at Sleeper parameters are, because I'm not going to go over them anymore. But we're going to go ahead and jump right on our sponsors, because without these guys, these are the guys that jumped in and supported us from the beginning, and we appreciate it. There are Big Reed BBQ, Automotive Detailing Solutions, This Little Piggy Barbecue Food Truck, Mimi's Children's Boutique, and Doug Damona Farm and Feed. And our title sponsor for this episode is This Little Piggy Barbecue Food Truck, based in Jonesboro, that brings the best barbecue around to the people. You can find this Little Piggy and owner Kyle Terrell set up at events and festivals all around Jackson Parish and surrounding areas. To keep track of when you can get your hands on this amazing brisket and pulled pork, follow This Little Piggy Barbecue Food Truck on Facebook. And he just had an event just the other weekend and posted some pictures, and man, I've got to say that food looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's a real deal. And he a lot of the stuff he does, he partners up and like gives a lot of the profit to people in need, or someone that's going through a tough time. I know like he's done some in the past for people like battling cancer, stuff like that. So it's always a good cause whenever he gets a chance to set up. So yeah, shout out to Kyle.
Can't go wrong with that, and that just makes you want to support him even more, for sure.
Absolutely.
And but we're going to go ahead and jump on into our news and injuries, which is pretty much just injuries right now. Not a lot of news going on other than about injuries. But started off with Kenneth Walker. Did not practice Wednesday with a calf injury. No update today. So just keep an eye out. If he gets back to practice today or tomorrow, I think he's going to be fine to play this weekend. Debo Samuel with a shoulder injury, ruled out today, and he was ruled out last week also with that shoulder injury. Did not play last week, and he won't play this week. Then they have a bye, so it looks like they're going to hold him out until he comes back from that bye, till he's healthy. So also on that note, probably look for more volume for CMC and Brandon Ayuk on that front. Next will be David Montgomery. He was ruled out last week. He's got that rib cartilage injury, which is very fickle. And did not practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. Good thing is they didn't put him on IR, but he hadn't practiced this week yet. I'd be willing to bet there's a good chance hopefully we get to see him back next weekend. Then we got Tyler Lockett with a hamstring injury. Did not practice Wednesday. No update today. Probably just a maintenance thing for him, but he has a history of hamstring injuries. But I don't remember him coming up injured during the game at all. So I would be willing to bet this is probably a maintenance day. Keep an eye on his practice regimen today and tomorrow. If he comes back in a limited fashion at all, I'd be willing to bet he'll be good to go. Justin Fields with that thumb injury, really surprised they did not put him on IR with that, especially given the fact that they don't not really playing for anything, but didn't practice today, listed as doubtful for this weekend, but and he won't play this weekend, but I guess they're thinking he could come back within 4 weeks. I'm not real sure this will be week 2, if I'm not mistaken. In that right, Clay, that he'll be out?
Yes.
Because he was
yes.
out last week.
Well, yeah, 2.5 probably. Because I think he missed about half that game before.
Yeah.
This will be a second full week out, and very interesting situation there.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet if they're thinking he's going to come back, it'll probably be like week 4 with that injury. But and then moving on to Jerome Ford with a high ankle sprain that was a deemed quote unquote mild high ankle sprain. I don't care what you say, it's a high ankle sprain, and I ain't never seen nobody miss less than 2 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So
even Saquon, when they said it was nothing, he missed like 4 weeks.
Dude, Saquon came back to practice and still missed 2 more weeks. And practiced on a limited basis and was still missing. So he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. So he'll probably definitely be out this weekend. I wouldn't be shocked if he's out 1 more week, but we'll see. Deontay Johnson popped up on the injury report, practiced in full yesterday, did not practice today with a hamstring injury. Anybody that's got him or has been keeping up with the situation was on IR with a hamstring injury, like just come off 2 weeks ago. Now he's got another recurrent hamstring injury. Not good. Honestly, I mean, if you re-injure something like that after you just got it healthy, I mean, you could be talking about another trip to the IR. So
he's always got those hamstring issues too. It's crazy.
And keep an eye on that, but I would not get my hopes up for sure. And he looked good this past weekend, which is sad. And then we got Brock Purdy in the concussion protocol, which is crazy because he didn't get put in during the game, did he, Clay? If I'm not mistaken. They put him in the concussion protocol after the game.
Yeah, the play that they're thinking it happened on was early in the fourth quarter, and then he went, I think, 2 for 6 with 2 of the picks that he threw, and then he didn't feel anything until the flight home, and then they said, concussion protocol. It just popped up that he practiced limited on the side, and that still in concussion protocol. So we'll see how that goes.
And as Clay and I talked a little bit about before, and most people probably realize, nobody hardly practices. I mean, nobody clears concussion protocol in less than a week. It just doesn't happen like that. So chances are he's probably going to miss this week, and that would explain a lot why he was throwing to the other team, because he thought they were on his team because he had a concussion.
Yeah, I think he had 1 pick the whole year, and it was that Browns game the week before. But before that, and then he throws 2, so that definitely felt weird.
Yeah, so throw some asterisks on those interceptions. And then last but certainly not least, another quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Man, he had a brutal year. He's still got that shoulder injury. Ended up getting ruled out during the game last week. They thought he had a concussion. He cleared that, but then they didn't let him go back in. Now they're saying he re-injured that shoulder. Didn't practice Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday. They announced that he would not start this weekend. They did not say that he would not be active, but they said he would not start this weekend, which I thought was kind of a little crazy. They're going to put P.J. Walker's going to have a chance to give it a go, and that's good news for one of my starts that we'll talk about here in just a little bit. But that's going to pretty much wind up our injury news and injury. And let's go ahead and get after our starts, Clay.
One more I want to mention.
What you got?
Kyler Murray. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's right.
He's a full participant in practice, which is crazy.
He's practicing. That's right. He's practicing. I hope he's practicing as hard as he has been as Call of Duty. But anyway, he's practicing, but he's still, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I read they're eyeing early to mid-November return, if I'm not mistaken, which is crazy because he's practicing in full. And that's why I hadn't really mentioned him. I didn't really put him on there because he's practicing in full.
Yeah,
then they're
I don't think he gives it a go this week, but maybe next week. Regardless, though, like I know he got picked up in 2 of my leagues like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, if you're gonna pick him up, now's the time.
Today in my other league, I went and got him just because he was there, and I have Jalen Hurts in that league. But I mean, why not take Murray and give you a little bit of trade bait if he does come back?
You still got to have a bye week fill in. Why not fill him in on that bye week and then trade him?
And his schedule coming up. This is they play Cleveland next week, which not a great matchup, but after that, Atlanta, Houston, and then the Rams. So pretty three matchups that aren't pretty. They're not bad for him. So it might be a good spot to come back. Maybe week 10.
Well, as much as he runs, I mean, that's a good safe floor.
Oh, definitely.
Even if you're playing in a rough, if he's got a rough matchup either way.
And that offense has looked decent with Josh Dobbs. I think Kyler Murray can take it to another level.
No doubt. I guarantee you some teams take notice of Josh Dobbs. I got a feeling he's going to be a career backup for several teams after the way he's kind of helped and put on a show in Arizona. I know I was shocked. Like, for a guy that really didn't do anything in Pittsburgh and then comes out of nowhere and like leads the team to some unexpected wins and really put up some points. So I was impressed.
I mean, that Dobbs played really well even against like San Francisco. He held his own.
Had a little bit of Geno Smith deja vu there for a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's go ahead and jump into who do you got starting this week, Clay?
All right, so quarterback, I've got. Are we doing all 4 starters at once?
We'll just do starting at quarterback. We'll just go through quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and then tight end. But let's do a start at quarterback.
Gotcha. I got Joe Burrow. It is against the Niners, but Kirk Cousins had a pretty good game against them. Burrow coming off a bye week. T. Higgins should be fully go. Jamar Chase obviously coming off some great games right before that bye. Burrow definitely started to look like himself. And then he had another full week to recover. So I think a lot of good signs for Burrow. That team's just too good not to get it going eventually.
That's right.
I mean, they've got the guys, and they're not really hurt, which is something that they always have some type of injuries.
That's right.
Burrow's their big one, but I feel like everything's going positive for Burrow right now, and it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a very good game at the 3:00 slate, and I'm very excited to watch Burrow.
That's right.
Hopefully, it turns out pretty well.
Completely agree. And I heard a lot of analysts being like, "Well, Joe Burrow, he had another bad game last week," and I'm like, so I go to pull up his stats and everything, and I'm like, dude, put up 17.8 points. How do you have a bad game? Like, all right, so if Burrow had a bad game last week, put up 17.8 points, or before his bye, that is. I mean, compared to the beginning of the year, freak. I mean, it wasn't single digits. So
exactly.
And he threw the ball 68.8%, 68.6% of his passes were completed. I mean, he only threw 185 yards, but still, I mean, I don't know. I'm completely right there with you. I had a feeling before I knew Joshua, I had a feeling one of y'all was going to pull him. So I was like, I'll go away from him a little bit, and I'll pick somebody else. So the guy that I picked is Jared Goff at home against Las Vegas. And I'll be honest, let me down a little bit last week against Baltimore. I knew it was a tough matchup, but I really didn't see him tanking like that. Now, granted, he didn't do too terrible as far as efficiency. He had 284 yards, but he didn't have a touchdown pass. The first game all year
that game
without
was
a touchdown
brutal.
pass.
That game was brutal.
Baltimore's defense is looking good. And I've got them in one league, and I'm stoked about that. But I'll tell you, if you don't think Jared Goff ain't fired up to come back playing against the Raiders at home, please. All right. So coming off this embarrassing game, even though it's Baltimore's D, embarrassing game. Now they're going to get the Raiders D at home. Dude, I'm looking for Goff to come out slinging that ball. And Dan Campbell, he's going to let them boys eat.
Absolutely.
He's not going to hold the reins back on that. He's got to get that confidence back up. And I think this is a confidence boost for them. And Jared Goff's still quarterback 7. Like, I mean, if you do the math in a 10-team league, he should be started.
Yeah.
So, and he's still, I think he finally made it over the 60% threshold. Thank goodness. But he's averaging 23.4 points a game. Get him out there and start him.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that he's always going to be around the free agency because honestly, in a lot of leagues, people don't roster backups.
Yep.
And even though he is that number 7 quarterback, I still think most people view him outside of the top 10 just because of some of the other names like Burrow, like who else?
Well, Lawrence right now.
Yeah, Lawrence hasn't been having a great year.
Dak Prescott.
Names like that you just expect to be in that top 10, and you're going to play them every week as if they are, but then eventually you got to pull the plug, and it's week 8. So
it's about time to start switching out for some of these guys that are really producing. So but that's our starts, and let's go ahead and get your sit there, Clay.
So my sit at quarterback, we just mentioned him actually, Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
That the Jags are winning. They're not. I don't really know how. They're not that good. It just feels like they're getting by in a way that they weren't last year. Last year it felt like they were, kind of taking that step. This year it just feels like when they should have took another step. And honestly, they have every right to be the number 2 team in the AFC right now. And I don't feel like they've done that. Calvin Ridley, week 1, amazing, hasn't done much. Christian Kirk's playing well. ETN's playing great. But I don't know, Lawrence, there's just something that's not right. And you're playing against Pittsburgh, who we all know always going to bring a good pass rush and a really good defense, no matter who they play, no matter who's on the field for them. Half their team can be hurt. It's still Pittsburgh's defense. You're still going to be a little scared. But yeah, I'm going to sit Lawrence. I just feel like there's better options this week.
Yeah. I can't argue with you too much because I really agree that he's still limited at practice the last couple of days with that knee injury.
And all it takes is one hit from TJ Watt.
You're right about that. But he is playing. He's playing okay. He's serviceable. Like, he's not breaking the bank, but he's giving you, the last several weeks. Last week he had a good one against New Orleans, real efficient. 200 yards and touchdown. He rushed 8 times, which is really surprising. But that's what New Orleans was giving him. And, but he's getting you around 18, 19, 18 points. But the last 2 games for the Pittsburgh defense, the year as a total hadn't been great, but the last 2 games, they've really clamped down on the quarterbacks. They held, Lamar Jackson to only 9 points in week 5, right before their bye. Then they came back from their bye. And last week against Stafford, and that really unbelievable pass offense they have going at the Rams right now, held them to 230 yards and a touchdown. So Stafford got 16 points, but they really got after him. I don't know if you watched any of that game, but like you said, and I feel like if Lawrence is, he gets that one hit on that knee or whatever, they're probably going to be real cautious with him. And that might not be something you want to take a chance on, but also probably people with Trevor Lawrence on their team might not have that good of a backup. Maybe they do.
That's very true.
But
that's when you go and look for Jared Goff.
That's right. Or CJ Stroud, who's still out there in a lot of leagues. That's what you go to look for them, or one of the sleepers we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Maybe you sub them in for him.
Yeah, looking at his stats, which this just sounds kind of insane, just given the name Trevor Lawrence and given the weapons he has on offense. Only 1 game this year he has over 300 yards. That's that was the second week they were in London and Buffalo came over there. And then only 2 games this year with 2 touchdown passes, and those were both against Indianapolis.
Yep.
That's crazy. His rushing numbers, are kind of way higher than you ever would expect. He's had over 10 yards rushing in every game. And maybe that's just another indication that he's not comfortable right now. He's not comfortable in that pocket, because that you don't think of him as a running quarterback at all.
Yep. And another caveat to that is, how much is he actually going to have to throw the ball against Pittsburgh? Because their offense has been pretty terrible. Jaguars' defense has been pretty decent.
Yeah.
And if they get up 2 touchdowns, if they're up like 14-0, they're going to run that ball on the ground.
Yeah, and ETN's been their guy.
Throw it. They're not going to try to put up a bunch of points because they're going into their bye in week 9. And they're not going to take any more chances with him than they're going to have to. So, and if he does get banged up a little bit, how do we know they don't sub him out and be like, all right, we're just going to, you're going to rest. We're not going to take a chance, let you get healthy, because they got San Fran in week 10.
And I'll always get a little more scared just seeing a player playing at Pittsburgh as well. That's just, regardless of what Pittsburgh has, you don't want to go there.
Yep. So, but I completely agree with that. And then my sit was this dude's been in my column all over the place all year. But this week I got Russell Wilson. I'm going to sit him. against Kansas City. I mean,
Arguably
honestly,
the best defense in the NFL.
I don't know how you start him whenever the last time he played him, he only had 95 yards total for the game. Okay. Like, I watched that game and I'm just sitting here. I started him and I'm like, dude, he's got to get it going eventually. Like, eventually. And then he never did. And I'm not saying he does that again, but with Denver's defense being as bad as they are, and then Kansas City running the ball as well as they are, I think Kansas City's going to control this game very easily, and that's going to limit the opportunities that Wilson's going to have. And then not to mention Kansas City's defense is 4th on the season against quarterbacks so far. So, yeah, count me out on Russell Wilson this week. I do think he's a serviceable quarterback, and I as far as fantasy goes, I mean, he's the number 8 so far. But he's got a bye coming up too, So
Yeah.
And then he's got Buffalo, so don't get too much easier after that. But yeah, I'm sitting Russell Wilson this week against Kansas City at home. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
Yep. And then let's go to our sleepers at quarterback. Clay, who you got at sleeping?
I got Bryce Young. It's my second time that I've gone Bryce Young that we've done this. I think I had him week 6 as well. He's coming around a little bit. The Adam Thielen connection is crazy.
It's real.
Something unexpected. I mean, I know we kind of thought that Thielen would have a little bit of a bounce back year, but to be what he has been is just insane. They're coming off a bye week. Frank Reich, head coach. I think they win this game. I'm a big believer in the Texans, but coming off the bye at home, Frank Reich wants to get things going some sort of direction positively. They're 0-6 without their first-round pick, so they don't have any reason to lose. And I just think Bryce Young, maybe he needed that bye week, needed to get healthy, needed to get some more chemistry with his guys, and let's see how it goes. But yeah, very very good option, very low on the. I mean, he should be available in pretty much every league, unless it's a dynasty, maybe.
I do definitely agree that he's on the up. I don't agree that they're going to win. I'll be honest, because I think Houston is on fire.
Oh, yeah.
But I think what is hurting Carolina so much right now is their lack of a running game. Yeah. I mean, dude.
Miles Sanders has been atrocious.
Dude, Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, they've all been bad. Like, you go look at their yards per carry, and they're all like 3 or less.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rough, and it's hard to have a good offense when you can't be balanced like that.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have an all-star quarterback. And what's really surprising to me is that he has not ran the ball near as much as I expected him to.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was more of a Jalen Hurts, not like, power runner like Hurts is, but I thought he would scramble a little bit more.
Almost like Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. Yeah. That's right. But he is not. And I feel like it's got to get there, but he's looked a lot better the last 2 games on the road. Now he's coming in at home. I think that's not a bad call. I think he's got a decent chance. Now, Houston's been pretty stingy, but the last couple weeks, they gave up 30 points to Desmond Ritter. They gave up 20 points to Derek Carr before the bye. So both of them threw for 300 and a touchdown. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Bryce Young is every bit as good as Desmond Ritter for sure.
Definitely.
But yeah, so I like that pick a lot. And speaking of New Orleans, that leads me to my sleeper. And it wouldn't be a Louisiana podcast if we didn't mention the Saints at least once. But I got to throw Derek Carr out there. Now, am I saying that he's going to like break the bank as quarterback? No, but he's been getting a lot better and a lot more comfortable in this offense. This week he's going at Indianapolis. And I mean, I know I've been talking about him a lot all season, but I mean, you just see his fire when he's out there. And I just feel like it's coming whenever he finally gets it together. Now, if they could just keep Chris Olave out of jail, then hopefully we'll be okay. And honestly, he's been banged up a little bit. He hasn't quite been himself the last couple games either.
He's had an ankle injury and
you could tell
way back. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what he has had is old Taysom Hill catching the ball, looking like a professional tight end or something. Dude, did you see a couple of those catches like falling backwards, like high pointing the ball?
Yeah, they're finally using Taysom as his listed position.
Well, I mean, they're using him everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, they get down to the goal line, they can't punch it in, they just give it to Taysom and he scores.
Yep.
Like, I mean, anyway. But yeah, so they finally he's getting a good connection with Taysom Hill. Indianapolis is 16th against quarterbacks so far this year. They're giving up an average of 18.8 games. And then Carr has thrown the ball at least 50 times the last 2 games. Now, I don't know if he keeps that up, but obviously his shoulder's feeling a lot better. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're letting him sling the ball like that, you got to know that a big game's coming. And I mean, I could see it happening at Indianapolis this week.
Yeah, and the run game's been so bad with the O-line play that it's just like he's having to throw the ball.
And he's just checking it down to Kamara a ton, which is great because that works out. I mean, Kamara's
sometimes you don't have to have a good game. It's just the volume. The volume will make it work.
And he's been over 300 yards the last 2 games. If he could just cut out those interceptions, he's had an interception the last 2 games, but. And we seen him run 3 times last game. And at one time he ran and I was like, man, he's a lot faster than I thought he was. But anyway, so I like Derek Carr as a sleeper this week. I'll be honest, if I had Russell Wilson, I'd pick him up and start him. I'm lucky enough to have CJ Stroud in that league that I do have him, but I like Derek Carr a lot this week. So
yeah, I like that.
And then that's going to round out our quarterbacks. Let's go ahead and jump on into our start at running back. So,
all right,
go ahead. Who you starting at running back, Clay?
I got King Henry, Derrick Henry going against Atlanta. Not the best of matchups there, but no Ryan Tannehill almost certainly, and you're going against. I mean, you're going to be running out either Will Levis or Malik Willis or both. When you have 2 quarterbacks, you have 0. Derrick Henry coming off a bye week, going to have a little bit more juice in his legs, and he's not been what you expect whenever you draft Derrick Henry, but still number 15 overall running back. He either has a really good game or has a really bad game. He's had bad games against Cleveland, one of the best defenses in the NFL, if not the, and then Indianapolis, which who knows what happened there. But Atlanta, what are they ranked right now against running backs? Actually,
they're second. They're good, but I'll be honest, I completely agree with everything you're saying. I almost put him on there, but anyway, you can keep going.
It's another situation where volume just might be king. I mean, I would be shocked if he doesn't get 20 touches. And Derrick Henry coming off a bye with 20 touches at home, I'll take my chances.
And if there's any running back I would bet on to beat a top end run defense, it would be Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
It's either him or CMC. One of those 2 guys are the people that I would bet on to beat a top end run defense. And like you said, they ain't throwing the ball more than 20 times this game. No. I bet money. And if they ain't throwing it, they ain't gonna run it. And he's gonna have his chance. If they don't just run some screenplays, which would be great if he could get some more passes.
And another little aspect to that, trade deadline is Tuesday. There's been a lot of rumors. Maybe he's wanting to get out of Tennessee, show off a little bit this week, and then get traded.
I would. Yeah, I would.
If that happens, the Tajay Spears stock is to the moon.
No doubt. I've been telling people on the waiver. I mean, I think he got above 60 or close.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, he's not quite there. He's at 35, but yeah, he's the real deal. But he slacked off a little bit last week. Yeah. He didn't have quite as many touches, but yeah, he's the real deal. He's the future there for sure.
Yep.
So, but I like that a lot. My start at running back is going to be one that's been up and down a lot this year, and a lot of people were jumping ship already. And honestly, I'm starting to think he might be a high trade candidate. That's Ramondre Stevenson. The Ezekiel Elliott buzz has started to fade a little bit. They finally realized with the money with Ramondre's throwing in the ball again. He's had at least 5 catches the last 2 weeks. Now he's going up against Miami. And we all know they're going to have to throw the ball to keep up with Miami. And they're the 16th ranked run defense against running backs, giving up an average of at least 20 points a game this year to running backs. So, I mean, we're all expecting Miami to be able to score against New England's defense. And the only way that New England's going to have a chance to keep up with that is by throwing the ball. And if they're throwing the ball to Ramondre Moore, I like his chances to come out with another week with at least 5 catches. And honestly, he's been fairly efficient. He didn't have but like 9 rushes last week, but he looked good. I think, let me see, his yards per carry right at 4. And then the week before, right at 4. He's only getting about 10 carries, but he's getting the catches again. And you can't complain about that. And if I had to bet on somebody getting a touchdown on that offense against Miami, it's going to be Ramondre Stevenson. So,
Yeah,
I
he's
like
definitely
him.
coming around. New England felt like they might have figured something out last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that pick.
Yeah, they had to, because Lord, they were talking about firing Bill Belichick, which
Yeah,
I mean, hey, ever since Tom Brady left, it's been pretty rough sledding for him.
it has.
But that's gonna round out our starts at running back. Who are you gonna sit this week, Clay?
All right, so I'm staying in the same game. Actually, I'm going Raheem Mostert.
Yep.
So running back from Miami, been banged up a little bit. Shocker with Raheem Mostert. He's always banged up at some point. It's an ankle injury, limited participant in practice today. So, I mean, I don't think he's not going to play. But if he does play, who knows what's going to happen. As I just mentioned, New England found something that worked last week against Buffalo. And Mostert's coming off a pretty rough game against Philly, 9 carries for 45 yards.
Yep.
Something with Mostert, you don't really get the elite volume that you do from maybe a Bijan or a CMC or a Henry or whatever, especially for him to be ranked the number 2 running back in fantasy this year. He's only got, he's got 2 games above 13 carries this year, which is pretty crazy to think. He's just also scored like 8 or 9 touchdowns this year. So very touchdown dependent. I don't know how much he's going to get that, especially with Jeff Wilson coming into the fold. I think Jeff Wilson's going to ease his way into the goal line back role pretty soon. That's what he was last year. How much is he going to get that this week? Who knows? But that's going to be a factor. Honestly, if I'm a Mostert owner, I'm selling high right now because I think his stock's just going to keep dwindling down as Wilson gets back in, A-Chain comes back. It's going to get pretty rough, but you know, he could have that big run this week. You can never count out Mostert to have a 60-yard touchdown run and save your week. But I just don't like the situation here.
I completely agree. Trade him now. Savon Ahmed has looked okay. They've been giving him more work than a lot of people thought. Jeff Wilson's back, and they said Devin A-Chain is coming back when first eligible.
Exactly.
So if you can get out on Mostert and trade, I mean, you better. I mean, I take just about anything right now.
And right now, you're looking at New England this week at Kansas City. No, Kansas City game next week in Germany, I believe.
Yep.
And then a bye week 10. So not the best schedule that you want. And then by week 11, you're gonna have A-Chain back in there. Wilson will be go. It's gonna be pretty rough.
Yeah, I would trade him now and get what you can. I'd trade for Ramondre Stevenson right now. Honestly, that's just me. I'd get whatever I could. I'd pick out, I'd pick high. I'd start high. I traded from Breece Hall 2 weeks ago. And, boy, I'm happy about that. Let me tell you.
I traded Tyler Algier for Breece Hall about 3 weeks ago.
Dude, good for you.
Yeah. It was like 2 days before the news came out about him being like the guy. I'm like, all right, I'll take that.
If you could still get that trade, get Breece Hall for him, do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, completely like that sit. I looked at him real hard. I really did. I didn't know if y'all would pick him or not. He's got a good matchup, but I don't know. Maybe he falls in the end zone. Maybe he doesn't.
Even if New England's defense is ranked 19th, I don't believe it.
I still like the odds of him busting more than I do of him having a good game. So but and then my sit is got to be one that has really been a flop all year. That's Josh Jacobs this week at Detroit. And this could blow up in my face because he's getting a fair amount of volume.
Yeah.
But the cards are stacked against him this week. I mean, they're going up against a third-rate run defense against running backs. And 3 of the last 4 weeks, they've held running backs to 7 or less points for the team. Okay? 7 or less points for the whole team. Not to mention, we aren't even sure who the quarterback's going to be this weekend for Josh Jacobs. We've seen his catches decline over the last 2 weeks, which is where he was at least being serviceable with. So if Jimmy G doesn't come back and Aiden O'Connell's the quarterback, man, I just don't know. Their offensive line has been so terrible. He's having to stay in the block some. And teams are stacking the box because they're daring Aiden O'Connell to throw the ball. I don't know. I don't like it. Detroit's coming off an embarrassing loss. They're going to be fired up. They're going to be wanting to really put it to Las Vegas. and they're a way better team than Vegas to me personally. I don't know. I just don't like the odds of Jacobs. If you got somebody better, I would start them, because the chances are you've probably been trying to figure out what to do with Jacobs all year and probably been skirting around. You might be starting at your flex anyway.
It seems crazy to be saying that about Josh Jacobs, who was like the number 1 running back last year. I think he's still at number 11 this year, but it just don't feel right.
He's been okay, but
something about him just feels off.
Right.
And that whole Vegas offense is just it's tough to.
I mean, other than Jacoby Myers,
which is crazy to say.
Yeah. But anyway, that's who I'm gonna sit this week. And who's your sleeper at running back there, Clay?
Sleeper, I got Kareem Hunt. I almost put him as my start, but he is ranked, I believe, like 26 on ESPN
he's
this
pretty
week.
far down there.
No Jerome Ford, so he's going to get pretty much all the volume that you could ask for. It is going to get Seattle's defense that's been playing pretty well lately, but he's going to get the ball. He's going to get the ball, and they don't have Deshaun Watson, so PJ Walker, not been the best at quarterback, but certainly hasn't been just straight up terrible, but still Hunt's starting to figure it out. 2 touchdowns last week, 1 touchdown the week before. Doesn't really get the passing volume that you want from a running back, but I'm expecting 15-plus carries this week. And, very good O-line with Cleveland. Good offense. Good offensive scheme all around. I think he gets in the end zone eventually, and
I like it a lot. He's getting the goal line carries, which is what you want. And in Cleveland, they run the ball on the goal line. You got to like that. I was disappointed he didn't catch a ball last week, and that was awfully strange for him. But I think they get him that. I think they get back to that. Now, it's kind of crazy because last week he only had like 26% snap count, right? But he ran the ball 10 times for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he might not be getting like all the snaps, but he's getting the important ones that score
It
points.
was a weird game against Indy.
It was, man. It really was. And I mean, I think he's at least gets 60% of the snaps this week. Yeah. And I think he gets some catches thrown in there too. I think that's a great
I'm not even sure who their backup is this week.
Pierre Strong.
Pierre Strong. Yeah. I'll take Kareem.
He's been mixed in, but they say they don't trust him at all in pass blocking.
Yeah.
And that's why he doesn't get the opportunity because he's not a good pass blocker. And they say that's why, he was drafted by New England. And they say that's why Bill Belichick let him go because he still ain't figured out how to pass block.
Yeah, he had 8 carries for 25 yards last week. Yeah. So Kareem definitely did better there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's going to be in there. He's going to mix in because they're not trying to burn Kareem out. But I do like that pick a lot. And then my sleeper this week is going to be Dameon Pierce at Carolina. I mean, honestly, if there was ever a get-right situation for a running back, it's got to be this one. Carolina's 31st against the running back this season, giving up an average of 35.3 points a game to running backs. And they've given up at least 41 points to running backs the last 2 weeks. Okay? Plus, Pierce and the rest of the Texans are coming off a bye. So they should be fresh. They should be healthy. I think there's a good chance if it is a close game, he's going to get work. I think there's going to be 1 or 2 things happen in this game. They're going to go up big and he's going to get work, or it's going to be close and he's still going to get work. And I think it could be. I think him and Singletary could benefit from this game. But I like Dameon Pierce a lot this week, and a lot of people have been sitting him. I've sat him a couple times this year because he really hasn't been extremely productive. He's been serviceable.
Singletary last week, the week before the bye, started to look like he was almost taking the job, but I still think Pierce gets it back.
If you look at Pierce's metrics, he's faced some really tough defenses, and he's still been above average in efficiency.
Yeah,
it's not turned out to great fantasy production, but his time's coming, and he was a big buy low candidate for a ton of fantasy analysts that I've listened to.
I'm never going to trust Devin Singletary to run off with a job anyway.
And no, definitely not. And that offense is coming around.
Yeah.
And they've been putting up points, and I would not mind having a running back that's got a piece of that. So, but I like Dameon Pierce a lot this week as a sleeper. So, and then that's going to round out our running backs. Let's go ahead and jump into wide receivers. Who you starting at wide receiver?
All right. I got my guy that I think I have in 2, maybe 3 leagues this year, Jalen Waddle. It hasn't been the best of years, not what I've expected. Ranked 34 right now in fantasy for a receiver, but played New England this week. Tyreek Hill a little bit banged up, but he is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Waddle himself been dealing with some injuries, but I'm not really worried about them at all. He came back actually during the New England game with the back spasms, but Waddle, he's going to break through eventually. He just is. He's too talented not to. I don't know. I think he can get it going. New England's cornerbacks not the best. They're ranked right now 12th in defense against receivers, so maybe a little bit something there, but he's probably going to be going against a rookie, Christian Gonzalez. I'm not for sure there.
He was injured at one point, and I don't know if he's back yet or not. But
so I'm not really sure. They played them week 2 in New England. He had 4 catches for 86 yards. Did not score, but I mean that's still a 12-point game, so get a little bit more volume this week, and we'll see. And it's not like he's not getting the ball thrown to him. I mean,
that's right.
5+ targets every game, so he's not just a ghost.
And then it's been even better than that the last 3.
Yeah.
I mean, other than last week, he only had 6, but he had 9 and 10 the weeks before with touchdowns. So I like that call a lot. I think, honestly, Mike McDaniel's looking at that, being like, we got to get this guy the ball more.
Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time till they start game planning him a little bit, especially with Tyreek Hill being banged up again.
Him and Devontae Smith, who I've got in multiple leagues, both of them. I'm just waiting for the moment when they're both going to break through. They're both just way too talented to just not do anything this year.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill, both incredible, arguably the 2 best receivers in football right now. But at some point, Smith and Waddle are going to get their share of the offense, and I almost put Smith as my play this week as well, just because I feel that confident that they're going to get it going.
Well, I'll be honest, I like the Waddle pick a lot better than the Smith pick, just because Philadelphia is not throwing the ball as much as people think.
Yeah,
and that's why Smith has fallen off, because the volume ain't there. Like, they're throwing the ball. Like, he had 11 targets a couple weeks ago, but he had 5 and 5 around that. And A.J. Brown's just sucking up all that extra, all the opportunity.
And Goddard's came alive as well.
He has. And, I feel bad because Devontae Smith is an excellent wide receiver.
Yeah.
But I really think it's going to take an injury to Goddard or Brown for him to really be more than a low-end wide receiver 2 or flex right now. But Waddle, on the other hand, with Tua and their offense, I think could definitely bust out. And especially if there was ever a game to, like, take it easy on Hill and let Waddle do something, I feel like this is it, So I like that pick a lot. And then for me, guy that I mentioned a little bit ago, Jacoby Myers. All right. I was dead wrong about this guy to start the season. I thought there was no way that you were going to tell me that somebody was going to be outperforming Devontae Adams on this team. I mean, I knew he was good, but I thought that this offense would not be able to, like, support 2 wide receivers, because I was just assuming that the number 1 was going to be Devontae Adams. And he is on the depth chart, but as far as fantasy production, is not number 1. And that would be Jacoby Myers. And honestly, Adams has been complaining, but Myers is still getting all the offensive attention. 30 targets over the last 3 games with at least 1 touchdown in each of the last 3 games. Detroit's defense is 13th against the wide receiver. Yes. But they're giving up an average of 36.5 points a game to wide receiver. And honestly, I don't expect anything different than what we've been seeing. If they're going to try to do anything, they're going to take away Devontae Adams, and he's going to get the number 1 corner. Jacoby Myers is going to get the number 2 corner. And I just think that bodes well for Jacoby Myers again. And it has not mattered who's in at quarterback. He's still getting the targets, and he's still doing something with them. Last week, 13 targets against Chicago, 7 for 50 and a touchdown. I mean,
I was high on Myers coming into the year. I think I had him as my sleeper or breakout, one of them.
You could have put him on any other team for me, just about, and I would have liked him a lot better.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I think what is helping him is the fact that he's opposite of a number 1, of a true number 1 in Adams.
He looks like a number 1.
Yeah,
he does. And he I mean, to be honest, the production, he is a number 1. I think Jacoby Myers has another good week at Detroit. Plus, they're going to have to throw the ball, because there ain't no way Detroit's going to come out and flub again 2 weeks in a row. I just don't. Absolutely. I can't see it. So I like Jacoby Myers a lot this week. So, but who do you got sitting at wide receiver, Clay?
Staying. Oh nope, not staying. Going to the Philadelphia game. I'm going Scary Terry. I believe he's ranked number 19 this week.
Yeah.
He's been kind of a sit all year. It's been a rough situation there. Scary Terry. I mean, not performing terribly. He never will, I don't think. But past couple weeks he's had 15 and 14 points. But playing Philadelphia, who he did have a good game against Week 4, but that O-line is pretty brutal. Sam Howell, I believe, is on pace to break the sack record by like 15 or 20, and Philly's pass rush will be knowing that and be going for some more sacks. I don't see the Commanders keeping this close again. Last game went to overtime. I think Philly wants to kind of make a statement. Philly's corners are playing well as well. Big play Slay, Bradbury. They just added Kevin Byard at safety, so adds a little bit more juice to that secondary. And I don't like the play. It's going to be hard to straight up sit him, but I think most teams have been trying to find that sit for him as it's been going this year.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to sit him, but I mean, I lower your expectations a little bit is what you're going to have to do. He's been getting the volume, the targets that is, but hadn't really been able to do much. One touchdown on the season, that was against Denver. Lord, we've seen what Miami did to him against Denver. So one touchdown against Denver all year, which doesn't look well. Curtis Samuel has really emerged in this offense, and I think that's taken a lot out of of Terry's production. He's been getting a lot of opportunity once again, but just not doing a ton with it. 14, 15 points, that's good. I think you're right. I think this is probably another down game for him. I don't think he gets in double digits. I think that's a good call. It says that Philadelphia's offense gives up a fair amount passing the ball, but they've went up against some stud offensive teams so far this year, and that's what kind of skews those numbers a little bit. I mean, you're looking they've already played Minnesota, Tampa Bay, the Rams, and the Jets, and Miami, all who have above average wide receivers, and even the Jets they did very well against. So they've played some tough teams, and unfortunately, like you said, Washington's offensive line and offense in general is just not those caliber teams. And I think this is a game where if you can, you sit them. If at worst, you expect a flex production out of them.
Yeah.
So, but I like that a lot. And then mine has got to be DeAndre Hopkins. For the
easy pick.
I mean, that's low hanging fruit. I mean, but he's, there's a ton of people that have been playing him, and he's been okay.
Yeah,
but
I've had to play him sometimes. But I don't like it.
and honestly, this week I'm sitting him. Like, I don't care what you got on your team. You play whoever you got over him. Because
unless you're a big believer in Will Levis, then
dude, get out of here. Because for one, he's going to be shadowed by AJ Terrell. Okay, that's numero uno right there.
Yeah.
2. He's going to have Will Levis and Malik Willis combination throwing to him. And whenever we've seen that before, he had 5 targets, 1 catch for 20 yards. Okay?
I played him that week.
And honestly, I don't think we're going to get anything better than that.
Yeah.
There's just no way. So, if you got Hopkins, sit him. I mean, whatever you got to do, drop your extra defense or your extra quarterback and pick up. There's a ton of wide receivers that have a better shot at outproducing him this week.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting DeAndre Hopkins. So
easy. I like that pick very easily.
And so
I've been begging people to take him from my team for anything.
Dude, it's so hard because you can't really drop him. It's still because what if he gets traded to a contender again?
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, it could happen. So
I've got him and Miles Sanders on the same team, and I'm just someone
Miles
please.
Sanders is available in 2 of the 4 leagues I'm in.
He's already been dropped,
and it is. Oh yeah, it's so hard for me not to pick him up. But I mean, I cannot drop Amari DiMercado for him.
No,
because I think he's got more value.
Insane to say.
It is insane, but I think he's got more value. So, so let's talk about 2 guys in sleepers that we would play over DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, this easy pick for me here. It's actually the player, I think, one above or one under your guy that you picked. I got Rashee Rice. I think he's number 40 on ESPN for this week, which he's the wide receiver 1 in Kansas City. It's a solidified thing. Justin Watson, I believe, is hurt. Mecole Hardman did come in, but you're never going to expect him to do a lot. And I believe Justin Ross just got arrested, so that adds another factor into the Kansas City receiver room. Rashee Rice, though, he's playing well. He really is. He's starting to build that connection with Mahomes that so few receivers build. 17 last week, 11 the week before, 13 the week before that. Doesn't get a lot of targets necessarily that you would want from a guy that's a wide receiver one in offense, but behind Travis Kelce.
Quality.
Yeah. When he gets the ball, he makes it happen. 3 touchdowns on the year. I mean, I think it's a great pick against Denver.
Yeah,
he might draw Patrick Surtain, but still that defense is just still it's so rough.
I really see them putting Surtain on MVS just because he's that deep threat, just to eliminate that home run ball. But I'll be honest, I've been struggling I haven't put him on the waiver wire pod yet, and it's crazy, but it's just hard for me to get past his max targets in the last 4 weeks or 6.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're good quality targets, and he's putting up, okay numbers like 13, 11, 17. But it's I feel like 17 is probably his ceiling. Now, his floor is probably 11. You know what I mean? So it's
that's
you're going to get at least 11 points.
You're not expecting a guy that's going to boom for 20 points.
Right.
But
that's right.
I don't think he's going to bust for 5.
But I completely agree. I'd start him any day of the week. Hey, let's start a movement right now. DeAndre Hopkins traded to the Chiefs. Hello?
Hey, might as well.
Anybody?
Might as well.
Yeah. Okay. Because, I mean, I'd love to see that connection. But anyway, that'd ruin your boy Rice's day. But I like it. I'd start Rice any day of the week over DeAndre Hopkins this week. And honestly, Rice is looking like a very good flex play for the rest of the season until they do something different there in Kansas City.
Yep.
So I like that pick a lot. And then my guy, kind of on the opposite end of Rice a little bit. Low floor, high ceiling, but Tank Dell in Houston. As you can see, I'm picking on this Houston-Carolina game a fair amount right now. But, I mean, Tank Dell is lightning in a bottle. Verbatim.
Yep.
And then the only reason he made this list, because he was not going to make this list until this afternoon, is Robert Woods has been ruled out for the game. So
he got ruled out. I did not see that. Wow.
He did. I got a notification, thanks to you for Fantasy Life app.
There you go.
Got a notification just before when I was writing this column, and Robert Woods has been ruled out, and Dell is fresh out of concussion protocol, coming off a bye. And Carolina gives up 58.4 points. They gave up 58.4 points to Miami wide receivers last week. Okay. And I know this is not Miami's wide receivers. Don't get me wrong. But if there's anybody that's as close to the Miami wide receivers on this team, it's Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Quick and shifty. And I know they're not the same, but still. Ever since J.C. Horn went down for Carolina, this secondary has been a mess for Carolina.
Absolutely.
And,
that whole defense has been having injuries.
I think if there's ever been a blow-up game and situation for Tank Dell, I feel like this is it.
I think Jeremy Chin just went on the IR as well for them. Another piece at safety.
Yeah. So, but I like Tank Dell a lot. I think they get him the ball again. So sign me up for some Tank Dell. I mean, honestly, I'd start him in a wide receiver too if you got a tough matchups this week. So,
and look on the waiver wire for him too, because he's been dropped, especially with concussion and a bye week back to back.
Yep. That's right. So I like Tank Dell a lot. And then so that's going to round out our wide receivers. Let's go ahead and jump on into tight end. Who you starting at tight end, Clay?
I'm going Kyle Pitts. He's been playing too well not
he's
to.
Starting to come back.
Yeah, yep. I'm starting to believe. I've got him in a league, and I've actually played him the past couple of weeks. So been happy to see that. 15, 14, and 7 points. Last week, 3 catches for 47 yards on 5 targets. That was just a weird game overall with the Bijan situation. And that offense it didn't look the same. At Tennessee this week, expecting them to pretty much run away with that game. Maybe because of Kyle Pitts. We'll see. But it's just there's no real guarantee with Pitts or any tight end. But with Pitts, it just feels like if you're going to start somebody with the talent that Pitts has. And if it works, it works. If not, well, you can say I started Kyle Pitts. That's pretty much how I feel.
Well, and, he's had at least 5 targets the last, 3 weeks. And then those other 2 weeks where he didn't have 5, he had 6 and 11. And one he had 6, he had a touchdown. So he's getting more involved. I'll be honest. I'm trying to figure out how Arthur Smith still has a job, like the way he's been running this team. Like, I mean,
and they're winning somehow,
dude. But
4-3.
I guess that's how. But man, it's because I don't know what he's doing. I really don't. But
yeah,
either way,
4 of the past 5 weeks, he's had at least 7 points. That's pretty much the floor you want for a tight end.
Yeah,
if your tight end gets you 7
Tennessee
points, you feel good.
Tennessee's going to be struggling to do anything with on offense. So that also means more opportunity for Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I like that call a lot there. My start is going to be David Njoku this week, which is crazy because he hasn't done hardly anything all year. But when he did, P.J. Walker was in there, boy. And P.J. Walker's in there now. And last week when P.J. Walker came in, he's seen his season high in targets with 9 targets and ended up having 5 catches for 54 yards. All right. It's a tough matchup this week at Seattle, but P.J. Walker has seemed to hone in on David Njoku whenever they were playing, and especially in these check down situations, which are what I thought would have happened with Deshaun Watson, but he just doesn't throw to his tight end. But P.J. Walker does. And I feel like they're going to be trailing against – well, I say that. I take that back because Cleveland's defense is legit. But I feel like Seattle's defense is going to get enough pressure on Cleveland that I feel like P.J. Walker's going to have to check that ball down quick to David Njoku. And their offensive line is good enough. They shouldn't have to keep Njoku in to block.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. And they usually run some 2 tight end sets anyway and use Njoku more as a receiving one. And also you got to factor in no Jerome Ford, so maybe a little bit less running. I did have Kareem Hunt as my sleeper at running back, but that kind of leans into the Njoku play.
Yeah.
I mean, Njoku, all it took was him getting his face burned off for him to, I guess, come alive in fantasy. He's a solid play.
And, those people worried about his knee injury, he sat out Wednesday. He was back on the field today for practice. So, excuse me. So I like Njoku a lot this week. He's my start. Honestly, it would have been Dalton Kincaid as a sleeper or start, but he's playing tonight on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I actually picked up Kincaid this week. I've got him playing over Pitts in my league.
Question, real quick before they play tonight, Clay.
Yeah.
Your thoughts. Dalton Kincaid or Darren Waller rolling the dice with the injury? All right, I got Waller, and he's been great, and they got Tyrod Taylor is going to be starting because Daniel Jones has not been cleared.
I'd go Waller.
2 games, I know that's what I'm thinking, but I got to make a decision before 7:15, and I think I'm going to go with Waller. He got a limited practice in today, but it's that hamstring, man. It makes me nervous with Waller.
Yeah.
But he got a limited practice in today. I feel like he's going to be able to give it a go. And the Jets are the worst team in the NFL against tight ends.
Yeah.
That is their only weakness on defense.
Waller's got too much of a ceiling not to go with him. Right. And you kind of want to see Kincaid do it again. I'm playing him over Pitts, mostly because I would just want to watch him play on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that he's been shown that he is the guy, and he's had that breakout week against New England. You do want to see him do it again, but I think he can.
It's a tough matchup for him because Tampa Bay's pretty good because they got Devin White and
Devontae David.
Because they got those stud linebackers. But dude, Dalton Kincaid is not your average wide tight end. So
and Gabe Davis has been banged up too, so I'm kind of leaning on Kincaid being the 2 tonight.
Yeah. So anyway, I like that pick a lot, but he didn't make it because he's on Thursday night. So
who
are you sitting this week at tight end, Clay?
I'm going Dalton Schultz, going back to that Carolina and Houston game that we've had a lot of picks for, which doesn't really seem like the fantasy game you'd be expecting, especially beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But Schultz, he's not been what he was last year, obviously, with the Cowboys, but he's been all right. Number 11 fantasy tight end. Did start to get it going before the bye week, 13, 19, and 16 points with a touchdown in every game. Very touchdown dependent. Don't know how that's going to work this week against Carolina. I mean, it's really just a dart throw. If he works, he might work, he might not. I don't know about it this week, though, against Carolina.
I guarantee you what I could say is their secondary's been so bad, he's not going to have to look to his tight end and throw the ball because his wide receivers are going to be open. Between Nico Collins and Tank Dell, John Mechie's finally been working back in there. I really think, if anything, that factors in a lot for you because his wide receivers are going to be open.
Yeah.
Why would he need to check it to his tight end? You know, and I doubt they're going to be. If anything, they hold him in to block some to give him more time.
Yeah,
because those cornerbacks have been so vulnerable. So I like that pick a lot there. He was definitely getting it going, but he had. I mean, I could see this game not being a Dalton Schultz game unless he gets a touchdown.
Yeah.
But other than that,
that's the thing with pretty much any fantasy tight end is if he gets a touchdown, you feel good about the play. If he doesn't, more times than not, you're not going to feel good.
Yep. So yeah, I like that pick a lot. Sitting for me at tight end is going to be Cole Kmet. Really sad because he was looking really good when Justin Fields was in there, and then Justin Fields goes down, and Cole Kmet's fantasy stock goes kaput.
Yeah.
He's got a good matchup this week at the Chargers, but I mean, I don't know what else to say. He's pretty much been non-existent since Fields went down. All right, now Badgett, and they've also been having to keep him in to block to give Badgett more time when they do want to pass the ball. But also, so since Fields went down, he in 2 weeks, he's had 3 targets and 2 catches for 9 yards in 3 weeks. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, there ain't much else you can say about that. And until Fields comes back, I don't think you want to start Cole Kmet.
And even then, it's still going to be a little bit of a question mark because it's just hard to fully trust anybody in that passing game besides DJ Moore.
Yeah, unless they make a complete effort to get Kmet involved, which they did not the last couple of weeks, and I would not bet on it this week. I'd be sitting Cole Kmet looking for somebody else.
Which is kind of crazy because you would think rookie quarterback, trying to simplify the passing game, you would think tight end would get boosted. It's actually been the opposite.
Yeah, well, that's because I think he's having to block so much.
Yeah.
And he's such a good blocker, and that works for and against him. You know,
Sunday night game as well in Los Angeles, so going to be bright lights for the rookie quarterback.
Right. So and Los Angeles is going to be fired up for sure.
Yeah.
So, but yes, that's my sit. Who are you sleeping at tight end that you would start over these cats?
I got Trey McBride.
Yes.
So coming in for Zach Ertz, who's had a great year for fantasy. Trey McBride, very talented tight end. I believe he was like a 3rd or 2nd round pick.
He was like second
Colorado
round.
State.
He was
second round pick last year, actually.
That's right.
So has all the talent in the world to be this kind of guy. Been coming alive a little bit the last couple of weeks with Ertz banged up. 4 catches for 62 yards, 3 catches for 29 on 6 targets. So definitely seeing the targets.
And now Ertz is on IR. Just FYI. So
Ertz on IR. No touchdowns yet this year, but I think he can get in the end zone, especially now that Ertz is out. So,
and then not only that, when Murray comes back, he leaned heavily on Ertz as his tight end and made him very fantasy relevant. I could see him doing the same thing with Trey McBride when he comes back. So this could be somebody that we might be talking about a lot more in the future whenever Murray comes back. So, I like Trey McBride a lot. He almost made this spot for me, but I had to throw in there another Saint. The cheat code, the Swiss Army knife of the New Orleans offense, Taysom Hill, qualifies for old tight end. And honestly, he hasn't been great in fantasy all year. He does so much, but the last couple weeks, he has really been involved in their offense. And he's played the role of kind of a true tight end a little bit, as you and I talked about before. The Colts defense is 19th against the tight end. But honestly, his production comes from all over the place. So it's hard to gauge what he's going to do against who, because he runs the ball, he catches the ball, but their offense has been getting stagnant in the red zone, and they've been leaning on Taysom Hill. And I just like his chance at a touchdown. And if you can plug him in at tight end, like we talked about just a little bit ago, that's all you can hope for at tight end is to get a touchdown out of somebody. And he's got the potential to break a big run, to make a big catch. So I feel like this could be a Taysom Hill week, and it could be Derek Carr to Taysom Hill, which would make my sleeper column look a lot better. So, I like that a lot this week. So
I just made a fantasy trade.
Uh-oh.
Just got called.
What was it? Live.
I just traded for Olave, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I'm getting rid of James Cook and Michael Pittman because I picked up Josh Downs. So I've been
Yeah.
wanting to get rid of Pittman.
Yeah.
So I'm trading Pittman and Cook for Olave and Kareem Hunt.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I think Olave has been banged up. That's why he's been getting a ton of volume, not doing a lot with it because he's been a little banged up with that ankle. And we know they got some, Gordon McKernan is going to represent Chris Olave very well. So
Very
I think
true.
there's a good chance that hopefully we'll get out of this 35 mile an hour over the speed limit ticket.
Yeah. And at running back, I've got Pollard, Pacheco, Breece Hall, and James Conner on the IR. So I've got some depth there at running back. So Cook doesn't hurt me a lot.
Yeah, I love that trade. Yeah, you probably weren't playing him anyway.
Honestly. I had him on the bench tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. Love that trade.
Pacheco's been my guy.
Love that trade right there.
Yeah. All right.
And like you said, Downs has been kind of
Downs has been Minshew's guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Pittman's he's not irrelevant, but I mean, you could almost say 1A, 1B right now.
Yeah, and it's hard to have both, and it's also a keeper league. So I was looking for Downs. If Downs keeps it up, maybe next year I keep him.
That's exactly right. So,
I like that. That's fun.
All right, nice, right there, live on the scene, Dirty Big Sports trade right there. But that's going to wrap up our position players, and then I'm going to give y'all a couple streaming defenses and kickers. I got to redeem myself on the kicker. But a couple there's several good streaming defenses this week. Number one for me has got to be the Jets going at the Giants. Now the Giants have looked a lot better under Tyrod Taylor, but the Jets defense is so good, and they've had some tough matchups this week. I think there's no doubt in my mind that they at least get several decent chances of turnovers against Tyrod Taylor and this Giants offense. But I like the Jets defense a lot. Also, Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. We talked a little bit about that game. Honestly, Jacksonville's defense has been very underrated. Top 11, 10 defense so far this year in fantasy. Number 9 defense in fantasy so far this year. And then now you're getting at Pittsburgh. Offense has been struggling pretty much all year. Love that right there. And then last, certainly not least, Seattle at Cleveland. Who doesn't like starting a defense against P.J. Walker? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and then Seattle's defense has been coming alive. They're not the Legion of Boom like they once were, but they're currently ranked the 5th defense in fantasy right now.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't
talented.
realize they've been getting a lot of sacks, not as many turnovers you like to see, but that might be coming. Not giving up a lot of points either.
Got a stud corner as well, Devon Witherspoon. He's been playing incredible.
And they got KJ. Is it not KJ? Right? What's his name back? He was in Los Angeles last year. Help me out.
Bobby Wagner.
Linebacker. Bobby Wagner's back.
Yeah.
So
they just signed Frank Clark as well.
There you go. So
another pass
this
rusher.
might be a good time to pick them up.
Yeah.
And then not only that, they've already passed their bye, so you don't have to worry about them for a while. So I
had to pick up 3 defenses this week actually.
Oh, Lord.
I got, shockingly, which based off last week's matchup, I had Philly's defense who played Miami last week, so they were on the waiver wire. I picked up Philly, so make sure they're picked up. Kansas City, I picked them up as well, just because they were on the waiver wire, maybe against the Chargers, not a great matchup. So make sure both of those defenses are pretty much keep on your roster and maybe play them every week now. I think they're that good. And then mine that's kind of more of a streaming this week is the Falcons. A little bit down there in terms of rankings, 18th overall. But having back-to-back solid performances, 8 and 10 points, and playing Tennessee, who we've picked on plenty tonight.
Yep, I like the Falcons' defense a lot. I'll be honest, but the only thing, and they would have been on my column a fair amount more, but they just aren't. They're not putting up a ton of points. The last couple of weeks they've been a good real life defense for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as fantasy, they're still they're only ranked 20th. But like you said,
only
this week,
6 turnovers on the year, and 3 of those were week 1. They don't really get sacks, but
this week they get Will Levis and Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Sweet mother. I like that better than PJ Walker. So
I think there's a pretty real chance that Tennessee doesn't score.
That's exactly
I'll give them 17 max.
Yep.
and then you're probably going to get a turnover or two in there, maybe a couple
Yep.
sacks. So they'll be around the 10-point range. I don't expect a big boom, but we'll see.
And then a couple streaming kickers, just in case you had Brett Maher, because I've been repping him so hard, and he has one bad game and gets cut all of a sudden. My bad, guys. Give y'all a couple other options. Dustin Hopkins for Cleveland, the new number 1 kicker in fantasy, put up 22 points last week. Sweet mother, that'll win your league. That'll win a week for you. And then they're going up against Seattle, who's, like we just talked about, solid defense. So another probably decent opportunity to kick several more field goals. And then also Blake Grupe, the 14-year-old, 30-year-old and kicker for the New Orleans Saints, going at Indianapolis, so a dome game. But Grupe has actually been pretty good as well this year. I think he's the top.
He was about one missed kick from being cut, and then I think he made like 3 straight. So
he's the number 6 kicker currently in fantasy right now. Just FYI. And he kicks in a dome. And if you're a Saints fan, who doesn't want to see at least somebody on the Saints playing for him?
Exactly.
Yeah, so Blake Grupe at New Indianapolis. And then last but not least, this is my favorite. I got him in every league. I only had Maher because I had to drop him because he was on a bye. But Brandon Aubrey for Dallas, kicking in Dallas. So he's always indoors. An offense that seems to not be as good in the red zone as they have been in the past. So he's kicking a fair amount of field goals. This week he's going to be at home against the Rams, who's got a fairly decent run defense. So he might have another opportunity to kick several more field goals, and he's got all his home games indoors, and he's passed his bye. So another reason to like Brandon Aubrey. So that's 3 kickers right there.
Yeah, I like it.
I like. So anything else you want to add, Clay?
Nah, I'm good.
Right,
I made a trade. I'm ready to set my lineups and get some games going.
Well, Thursday night football coming on in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's what he called. He was like, "You got 15 minutes. I want James Cook." Yeah. I'm like, "All right, let's make it happen."
Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, there you go. Get out there, guys. And like one of my favorite fantasy analysts has said in the past, if you ain't trading, you ain't trying.
That's right.
I've
made like 5 trades already this year.
Don't be afraid to throw them trades out there. But just know, if they're ridiculous, you will get talked about.
Yes, absolutely.
But anyway, don't be afraid to try, though. At least talk to the person that you're trying to trade with and see what they're interested in.
Yep.
So anyway, well, thank everybody for listening. We appreciate y'all. Please like, subscribe, download on all your applications of choice. Give us some feedback. We appreciate everything, and all our sponsors. Please go out and support them. Also be with our prayer list that we talked about at the beginning of the show. And we appreciate everybody. Go enjoy that Thursday night football matchup and keep chasing that trophy, guys.